Well, good afternoon and welcome to Channel 8 Sports and East Brunswick High School football. Hi, I'm John Meggiolaro, being joined once again by Phil Hill and Jim Allinder, where today we come to you from Brisco Stadium, home of the Woodbridge Barrons, for the East Brunswick Woodbridge game. And guys, one of our few home day games.
Great.
Yeah. Actually, day games, not a home game, but in the background you hear the national anthem, or rather the
No, I think it's the Woodbridge fight song.
The Woodbridge fight song? Okay. Hard to distinguish anymore.
Yeah. Well, we're on the home side of the Woodbridge Barron Field, so you're probably going to hear a lot more crowd noise for Woodbridge than you are for East Brunswick. We're looking across from the other side of the field there. You see a rather sparse crowd so far, John, and hopefully more are going to show up by game time.
Well, East Brunswick comes into the game 3-1, Woodbridge 0-2-1, and well, let's start with Phil, since he's been looking at this Woodbridge team this week.
Well, John, this Woodbridge team, you really can't figure them out. They opened up the first game with a tie against Cedar Ridge, then they lost to Perth Amboy, then a good Perth Amboy team and a good J.P. Stevens team. So, and each of those games, they haven't had their best back, the fullback Dennis McKim, healthy. He is healthy today. Woodbridge is a ball control team, John, and so they're going to have to try to control the ball in order to beat East Brunswick. The thing about it, the thing going for Woodbridge seems to be that tangibles and intangibles. They are, Trent is out, Pack is out, and the fact that this East Brunswick team doesn't seem to be terribly excited about Woodbridge, so they may underestimate them, and who knows what can happen.
Okay, we'll pause a moment for the national anthem. Okay, Jim, let's talk about East Brunswick, and more importantly, who's not playing for East Brunswick today.
Right, Phil had mentioned that Trent would not be starting, which is an important part of the passing offense for the Bears, and that was the question I posed to Marcus Borden before the game. You know, you showed a running front last week against Edison, and I think the Bears ran 46 running plays to 22 for Edison, a better than 2-1 margin. You know, does that mean that you're going to come out with a running game today against Woodbridge? Well, not necessarily. As a matter of fact, Borden even alluded to the fact that they will be throwing a lot. So without Trent in there, they're going to lose a little part of that passing offense. However, a lot of good receivers. We know Joe Giroux is a good receiver. We know that Dave Potter's a good receiver, Kevin Maloney, and the running backs Mark Harmon and Joe DeVito, both of whom ran for over 100 yards last week, gentlemen. East Brunswick probably will try to establish its running game, but we will also see more passing in this game, simply because Borden believes that they do have the edge in the receiving department, and that perhaps Woodbridge is not going to be able to defend East Brunswick passing attack. Brian Forte, of course, I think he's leading the county in touchdown passes with 6. So that's what I would watch for today with East Brunswick.
Okay, and I think one thing we have to keep in mind for the Bears is they have to fight, as Phil said, that aspect of complacency. And for Woodbridge, I think the key to their strategy is that ball control. They need to hold on to that ball and as much as they can, obviously scoring as well, but because East Brunswick's attack is so potent.
Right. I know last year, the last time I was here was when Madison Central came up here. I think they were unbeaten at that time. And Woodbridge was moving along at a fairly even clip. I think they had a tie record, 500 record. And Woodbridge, if you want to call it an upset, knocked off Madison Central at that time, and that was sort of like the road down for the Spartans. So they are capable of putting a good game together. With Caprero, the coach, Phil alluded to, you always have a quality team. They don't seem to be big in numbers, but they always have good size on the line. And they will, again, try to establish that running game.
And one thing we've learned over the 4 or 5 years that we've been covering East Brunswick High School football is that anything can happen in high school football. And I know the coaching staff at East Brunswick was quite leery coming into this game about complacency. So we'll see what happens. The Bears have won the toss and they'll receive. They're in the visitors' white jerseys and they'll be moving left to right on your screen. Overcast day, they were talking about temperatures in the 70s, but I don't think we're more than low 60s.
Watch for that shaking voice of John Meggiolaro, folks, from the cold.
John, it's interesting. The Bears have won the toss every game that they've been in this year. We talked about that, what it means for the third quarter. They've never had a chance to receive the ball in the third quarter. I don't think they should be concerned about that now, but I think it's interesting.
Okay, the Bears have Harmon, DeVito, and Brunig back deep.
By the way, we should see a little more of Bill Brunig today. He has not been at full force. He hasn't been. He's had that ankle injury that's kept him a little slow, but we should see more of him today.
All right, we're just about ready to get this game underway. East Brunswick and Woodbridge. A good kick. This is going to be Brunig at about the 7-yard line. Reverses to Harmon. Harmon along the left side. Harmon taken down across the 25 or close to it.
Woodbridge was not fooled by that, Phil.
Not at all. East Brunswick has handed off the ball on a reverse practically on all their kickoff returns, so they were prepared for it.
All right, the Bears will have it 1st and 10 at their own 25, and this will be their first time touching the ball. Forte, Harmon, and DeVito in the backfield.
I see Shannon Holcomb is out on the wide right here.
All right, Holcomb split wide right. Forte looking to throw. He's got time. He's looking for Harmon right in the middle. He's got him. Mark Harmon, first down and much more into Woodbridge territory.
And as we expected, Forte would be throwing.
And I tell you, if Scott Mormon, number 24, doesn't come up for Woodbridge, Mark Harmon is gone.
45-yard gain on that play.
Mark Harmon all alone finding a hole right in the seam of the defense of Woodbridge. And East Brunswick moves into Woodbridge territory. The ball spotted at the Woodbridge 29-yard line. 1st and 10. Here's Brunig. Brunig crosses the 25 down to about the 24.
Jim, you say we're going to see a lot of passing today?
Yeah, I do. That's what I was told anyway. I sort of suspected that, but one thing's for certain, East Brunswick will try to establish its running game as it always does, and then when that opens up, when Woodbridge is up tight, then I think Forte is going to start to pass. We should see more than last week.
All right, Brunig picks up 4. It's 2nd and 6 for the Bears. Holcomb and Drew wide right. This is DeVito. And DeVito will pick up maybe a yard. And I believe that was the first time we've seen Bill Brunig on offense this year.
I'll check that one.
I believe it's the 2nd time. Woodbridge defense there, led by their captain, Mike Sutton, being tough on that right side there.
That's right, John. It was one carry before that.
All right, Brunig's in, Harmon is out. Holcomb split wide right, Drew wide left. Forte fakes to Brunig, rolls to his right. He's got time. There's a man in the middle, Potter, and he's got him. 1st down at the 15.
And we have a flag.
Clip.
And it's a clip against East Brunswick.
Seemed like Brian had some room to run on that, Phil.
Brian had room to run. The thing I'm thinking about is Brian is looking so very comfortable out there. It's like throwing darts. He's just so very relaxed. He could hit any number of receivers.
Right, we made the observation last week that Forte was very comfortable throwing simply because his line was giving him enough time. They were blitzing in the first 3 games against Brian Forte, and he had to hustle out to the right and left.
All right, the penalty against East Brunswick, blocking below the waist, moves the Bears back now.
And these are the things that coaches worry about. Not so very much for this game, but they got big games coming up with Perth Amboy and J.P. Stevens, and Marcus Borden knows his teams cannot be afforded to be penalized the way they have this year. They certainly have been penalized far more than the teams they played, their opponents.
All All right, the ball spotted at the Woodbridge 47. Third and about 27 now. Harmon in motion. Forte drops straight back. Looks for a screen on the side to DeVito, left side, but DeVito's taken right down. Good defensive play.
Well played.
That's Scott Mormon again for Woodbridge. He made the game-saving tackle against Harmon, and he comes up with a big play here.
All right, so East Brunswick will be forced to punt after a good start. They had the ball down at the Woodbridge 24, but a penalty has moved them back, and now Forte will punt. 9:02 to go in the first period, no score. Bryan gets a nice high kick. Fair catch is called, and a flag is going to be called against Joe DeVito.
He gave him a good shot.
Scott Mormon was back, and DeVito just leveled him while he was looking up.
I don't understand that unless Joey was sort of looking up himself. You know, you have to give the receiving team room to catch that ball. It's an uncharacteristic mistake by Joey DeVito.
Oh, right there in that first drive, you can see how mental errors and penalties can just snuff out the whole drive. Bears looked like they were moving in. They had a third and short yardage and were hit with that crackback, and this is going to probably add 15 more yards. So Woodbridge, which was going to have not the greatest field position, is probably going to be out to the 35, 36-yard line.
And the young man that was hit is the young man that's been all over the field for Woodbridge, Scott Mormon. He's the one that has made 2 big plays for Woodbridge, and he's a little shook up right now and coming to the sidelines.
All right, the ball was originally spotted at the 18, but now with the penalty, we'll see where it comes to rest. Official still talking it over.
All right, they haven't moved the sticks yet and haven't moved the ball, haven't assessed the penalty yet.
Phil, you get the sense, though, that the Bears can throw against Woodbridge after watching this first series?
What I get the sense of is the Bears feel they can do anything, but that they may not be totally mentally into the game. And if they're not, they could be in for a long afternoon.
All right.
All right, they'll mark off the penalty now.
And I don't think we're too premature, John and Phil, in mentioning that the Bears cannot afford another loss if they want to qualify for the state playoffs. And this is just the type of opponent. And of course, next week's opponent, Perth Amboy, are those types of opponent that can just snuff out the opportunity to get into the playoffs.
It'll be 1st and 10 for Woodbridge at their own 32. Anglam is the quarterback, number 19. Sakala in the backfield with McKim. And this is McKim. He'll pick up close to 4 yards.
And Dennis McKim is largely the Woodbridge team. I mean, they're all everything for Woodbridge. They rely so very much on him, which is really a disadvantage because when you rely so much on such a player like himself, you can easily key on him. But when you talk about Woodbridge, you're talking about Dennis McKim.
Well, McKim actually picked up close to 7 yards, so it'll be 2nd and 3. The ball at the Woodbridge 38-yard line. First offensive set for the Barrons. 8:10 to go here in the first period, no score. This is McKim once again, and he's got the first down.
John talked to Frank Caparo at the earlier today, and he said in order to beat East Brunswick, they must control the ball. In essence, they must do what East Brunswick did to Edison last week. They must run that ball on the ground and control it and keep it out of East Brunswick's hands in order for them to win. He knows that clearly.
1st and 10. Here's Sakala. Sakala will pick up 2, maybe 3. See where they mark it. Let's give him 2. It'll be 2nd and 8 for the Barrons.
And right now, it looks like the offensive line for Woodbridge is holding its own.
Well, I think Madison Central said one thing to the other teams in the league, and that is you could possibly run against the Bears. And I'm sure that's what Woodbridge is going to try.
Well, John, for Woodbridge, that's practically all they know. They run that wing T offense, and running is their game. They have a history of doing nothing but running. So
2nd and 8 for the Barrons. The ball just across their own 45-yard line. Mormon in motion. Here's McKim, and he bulls his way to midfield to bring up a 3rd and about 4.
And here comes the sun.
I think if you're Marcus Borden, you're somewhat uneasy at this moment. Woodbridge looking pretty good on the ground.
Think we'll see the ball in the air at all by Woodbridge?
Well, here we go, 3rd and 4. Sakala in motion. Anglem looking. He's got his man outside, number 81. That's Joe Hill. 1st down for the Barrons. Not a good pass, but it did the job.
Joe Hill is the best receiver. He's a junior, and as I said, Woodbridge doesn't throw that much, but this Anglem, if you remember last year, they had Daring and Woodbridge, and Anglem was the better passer of the two, so they can throw a little.
1st and 10 at the Bears 40. Woodbridge on the move. We have no score, 5:55, 1st period. Here's Mormon on a reverse. Knocked out of bounds at around the 35. He'll pick up 5 yards.
A nice play by Woodbridge, and if the ball carrier had cut inside instead of heading for the sidelines, he would have picked up much more yardage.
Something I've noticed in the defensive backfield for East Brunswick is a sophomore, number 7, Troy Witt.
It's White, Jim. I'm sorry. Last week we called him Witt, and in the program it had Witt. It is White, and we owe an apology to that young man from last week. 2nd and 5 for the Barrons. The ball on the East Brunswick 35. Sakala in motion. Straight dive play to McKim. McKim up to the 30.
Another 1st down.
Well, they're just executing their game plan to the T right now. Now, pardon the pun. They picking up good yardage on 3 and 4 and 5 yards at each pop.
We're going to have a measurement. And gentlemen, I'm gonna go out on the limb and say right up front that East Brunswick looks rather lethargic.
Well, John, as I said before, it's really hard to mentally get into the game. You got Perth Amboy your next game, J.P. Stevens the game following after that. You got to be thinking about that. They did have their PSATs the day, which mentally drains you somewhat. So, and they've never gotten really excited about a Woodbridge team, so they have a lot of intangibles working against them.
It's going to be 3rd and less than a foot, actually a matter of inches, for the Barrons. Here's McKim. He's got the 1st down to the 25-yard line.
Picked up 5 yards on that play. So Woodbridge's line is definitely making some good holes in there. Barron runners are really not doing anything exciting except going through the hole in the line.
And we talked about it earlier. We really don't know what this Woodbridge team is made of. Of course, they lost to Perth Amboy and J.P. Stevens, but most teams in the conference are going to lose to those two teams. So they may be better than most people figured.
And nothing they'd like more than to put that ball in the end zone first. 1st and 10. The ball on the East Brunswick 25. Here's an inside reverse. That's Mormon. Gets maybe a yard.
That's about the first time that the Bears have been able to shut down any inside running play. Something else that this Woodbridge running game does is it consumes a lot of the clock. Already we're down to 4 minutes in the 1st period, and the Bears have only had their hands on the ball 1 time. And if you don't have the ball, you can't score.
Let's call it 2nd and 9 for Woodbridge. Ball just shy of the East Brunswick 25. Anglem dropping back, looking to throw, steps up in the pocket, looks to the outside for Mormon. Nice defensive play by Harmon.
Really was. He had the play read very well. He was behind his defender, and he had enough time to make that play, so it was not he wasn't putting himself in a jeopardizing situation.
I tell you, it's a dangerous pass, however, for Woodbridge. If Harmon could have stepped up, he would have easily been gone.
Right. Mark has that type of reaction so that he can adjust. He would have been off to the races.
3rd and 9. We'll see what Woodbridge comes out with now. 3:40 to go in the 1st period. Hill split wide left. Here's Sakala. Outside. Sakala's going to dive, and I think he's got the first down.
Wow. Fine effort. Fine effort.
A real fine effort.
Oh, gosh.
It's going to be short, about a foot.
Well,
tough decision right here.
Well, they don't have much in the way of a kicking game, and speaking to Caparo, so they'll probably go for it here.
Well, I was saying there's a slight breeze to Woodbridge's advantage, but they're going for the first down.
What do they have to lose at this point?
Correct.
So it's 4th and a foot. The ball just shy of the East Brunswick 15. Long time-consuming drive by the Barrons. Mormon in motion. Handoff, dive play to McKim.
Did he make it?
Let's see.
Very close.
Oh, yeah, if he's past
He's
that
got
line,
it, first down for Woodbridge.
Just past that yard marker, and that's all he needed to do.
Ball now inside the East Brunswick 15, 1st and 10. 2:40 now to go first period, and East Brunswick's only had the ball once.
And that's Frank Caparo's whole scheme of things, John, is to keep that ball out of East Brunswick's hands at all costs, and they're doing a good job at it.
Mormon in motion. Dive play, McKim. Pick up 2.
And that was Harmon on the tackle, Phil.
Who was that?
That was Mark Harmon on the tackle.
Yeah.
The safeties are coming up to make the tackles, which means that Woodbridge is getting past that, that defensive line on each shot.
I think you can look for McKim to carry practically on every drive necessary here, every play necessary here. I don't think they're going to do anything fancy, but try to get it to the best ball player.
The ball is at the East Brunswick 13, 2nd and 8. Anglem, little option, pitch back to McKim. McKim's got a wide open area for the end zone. He's going to go in for the score, and Woodbridge goes on top.
Nice pitch by the quarterback. Waited to the last moment.
So the Barrons strike first blood.
You're right, Phil. It was going to be McKim all the way.
They had to go with the money, Jimmy, no doubt about it.
And they'll go for an extra point. Jowett will be the kicker, number 45, if in fact they do kick. Snap is a little high, ball down, kick is up and good. And the score with 1:34 to go in the first period is Woodbridge 7, East Brunswick nothing.
Well, if that doesn't do anything to shock East Brunswick out of its lethargy, I don't think anything will.
Just an excellent drive by a well-precision Woodbridge team here, and I think it's sort of stunned. Well, I don't know if it's stunned the Wood. I think it has stunned the Woodbridge fans as well. They took it down there very nicely.
They really did. East Brunswick did not show ability to be able to stop the run, and that's what Woodbridge is going to be shoving at them all day. Phil, do you think that East Brunswick needs to try to score quickly, in other words, go through the long pass, or do you think they ought to resort to their, what you think is going to be the running game for a while?
We're not quite sure what will work against this Woodbridge team because we haven't had the ball that much.
That's correct.
So we're not really sure what can go.
East Brunswick will have the ball for only the second time this period, and we only have 1:34 to go. Jowett will kick it off. Good kick. It'll drive Harmon into the end zone, and it'll come out to the 20.
And there you see that wind is a lot stiffer down there than it's not more. It seems like it's just a breeze up here, but for the ball to carry that far on a kickoff.
It's the win. All you have to do is look at the flag, Jimmy. Yep. As I said, Frank Caparo says his kicking game just isn't that strong. East Brunswick players, they just don't seem to have too much enthusiasm. The sideline doesn't seem to be trying to get the rest of the team in the game. I don't know. I don't like what I'm seeing at this juncture.
All right, 1st and 10 for the Bears on their own 20. Forte calling signals. Holcomb split wide right. This is DeVito on the handoff, and DeVito gets back to the line of scrimmage, and that's all.
Snuffed.
Call it 2nd and 10.
So Woodbridge playing with a lot more emotion.
Brunig in the backfield now with DeVito. Forte will drop back. Rolls to his right, has time, looking deep down the field for Giroux. He's got it. What a catch. Joe Giroux. He'll be taken down at the Woodbridge 25.
No flags.
What a catch. Joe.
I was looking back to see if there was any penalty.
Brian Forte rolling out to his right, throwing it almost on the line, and Joe Giroux making a fantastic catch. Nothing but hands there. And that's the way you got to catch it.
We'll give him 55 yards on that pass.
First down for the Bears. The ball now at the Woodbridge 25. 45 seconds to go in the first period. East Brunswick trails 7-0. Harmon, sweep, left side. Tries to cut up. He'll pick up 2.
And that's Harmon's first carry of the afternoon.
Clock running down. 20 seconds, first period. Call it 2nd and 8.
That was a great catch by Giroux.
Giroux is really developed, I tell you.
Giroux and Holcomb split wide right. Forte short drop and overthrows Holcomb. A little quick screen, just didn't develop.
I'll tell you, it didn't develop, but you had Woodbridge players ready for it too.
And that's the end of the first period here at Brisco Stadium. And so the Bears will switch ends of the field. They trail 7-0, but they have the ball on the Woodbridge 23-yard line.
Right.
But it'll be a 3rd and 8 for them.
Well, East Brunswick faced with a 3rd and, as John said, 8 yards to go. So if they do not make it, obviously they'll be in a good position to kick the field goal with Josh Miller. They have the breeze to their backs now with the quarter change. But I'm sure that Marcus Borden wants to put 7 on the board.
You know he does. It's just so very interesting that how things change from week to week. Here, Woodbridge wants to control that ball and has done a very good job of it. And East Brunswick looks like they're going to have to live by the big play.
All right. Phil, something I've noticed with East Brunswick having that wide open passing attack, maybe they're going to miss Trent today more than we think.
They may miss him, but I think they probably can do without him for a game. For this game, I really do.
Okay.
All right, Marcus Borden leaves the huddle, the Bears huddle. And we'll see what the Bears do on 3rd and 8.
I watched for Giroux, number 18, on this play.
Giroux is split wide in the gap, rather, on the right side. Forte, again, plenty of time, looking. He's got Giroux in the corner and overthrows him.
A bad pass by Brian Forte. Joe Giroux was wide open, and Brian just did not hit him that time.
Didn't hit him.
Josh Miller comes out for the field goal attempt.
And this is going to be spotted at about the 34-yard line.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, and this is Miller time. You fooled me.
Well, it's going to be a 40-yarder, John.
40 yards for Josh Miller. White is the holder.
Yeah, it's angled from the left side.
Wind to his back.
White's holding.
Good snap, good hold. The ball is up. And no good, wide left. And so Woodbridge holds on to their 7-0 lead as we start the second period here at Woodbridge.
A lot of leg by Josh Miller. You called it, John Doe. Good snap and good put down. Josh just didn't nail it that time.
And that angle to the left apparently was enough to keep Miller from putting it through the uprights. So the Bears really do need to rise to the occasion in this situation right now. I don't think they can afford to fall behind this Woodbridge team by more than a touchdown.
Well, they need to stop Woodbridge's rhythm. They need to. Woodbridge seems to be in a good rhythm and picking up 4 and 5 yards here. Every now and then a short pass, and they just look very good.
11:47 to go before halftime. Woodbridge takes over on their own 20, 1st and 10. This is Sakala. And Sakala pick up maybe a yard. Let's call it 2nd and 9 for the Barrons.
You got Miller, Harmon, and Mike Flynn in on a tackle there.
I think what East Brunswick needs is a turnover. Get that juice flowing.
Right about now, it would help.
It just would help for them to stop them from getting that first down. You know, just.
All right, we haven't seen a punt today, and I'd like to see what a punt's going to look like against this win.
That's number 91, Mike Flynn, in there.
Flag just went down. It must be delay of game there.
It is delay of game against Woodbridge. That'll move him back 5.
And that's the type of, if you want to talk about a break, that's something that East Brunswick could use right about now.
That's Mark Flynn, not Mike Flynn.
Okay.
So the ball now at the Woodbridge 18-yard line.
All right, we've seen Flynn a number of times come in and make an important quarterback sack.
So it'll be 2nd and 12 for the Barrons. They lead 7-0 here in the second period. Anglem drops back, being pressured, rolls out, looking for someone. He's got a man in the middle, and a fine catch by number 80. That's Jeff Cahill, and it's a first down for Woodbridge.
Just a fine play by Woodbridge. Sean Smith blowing in there, putting excellent pressure on the quarterback, but he was able to roll out and hit his receiver for a first down.
So Woodbridge avoids a tough situation, gets an important first down.
1st and 10 for the Barrons. The ball at the Woodbridge 33-yard line. 10:30 to go before half. Here's Sakala. Sakala up to the 35. Pickup of 3.
And Mark Harmon coming up very nicely to make the tackle.
Gentlemen, I think what's probably making us what appears to be rather nervous is that this seems to be a situation that developed against Perth Amboy last year. And the Bears simply fell behind too early by too much, and you just don't want to make up a deficit like.
And you just hope they don't end up seeing red again, pardon the pun.
Mm-hmm.
Second and about 8 for the Barrons. Anglem, that's McKim. And McKim bowls his way close to the first down.
Right. Flynn had him stopped about a few yards over the line of scrimmage, but McKim's ability was able to get him some more yards.
Tell you, he's the best power runner we've seen this year. I mean, that's probably all of his game right there, but it's more than sufficient to this point.
Ball resting on the Woodbridge 42-yard line, and again, they're moving on the ground. 3rd and about 2, let's call it, a long one. Morum in motion. Here's McKim.
That's close.
We'll see. We'll see where they mark that ball. I think he's short, Jim.
Probably going to get a measurement here.
Yeah, you're right. And they'll bring out the chains. So with 8:46 to go before half, Woodbridge on top 7-0. And they're looking for another first down, and the chains will be brought out. While we look at the measurement, which is a first down for Woodbridge, some interesting action last night with Perth Amboy giving J.P. Stevens all that they wanted, and Madison Central losing to Colonia.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Very surprising.
It was surprising to me after what we've seen from Madison Central.
They say
Colonia only a 1-2 club.
Perth Amboy actually outplayed J.P. Stevens last night and somehow lost the game.
So it's 1st and 10 for the Barrons. They keep the drive alive. Anglem. It's Mormon around the outside, and good defensive play.
Yeah, give that to Flynn.
Number 55.
That had all the markings of a long gainer on the left side. Look at Borden. I don't know if you can see him on the screen there, but he's telling his team, come on, let's get going.
And he wants them to show some emotion. I said, pointing out before, the sidelines doesn't seem to be showing any emotion with the exception of Borden. and the defense themselves. Somebody has to get people psyched up and get going.
You could see him on your screen there. He's yelling and screaming and pacing the sidelines. I think he knows that if this team does not stop Woodbridge at this point on this drive, they're going to be in some deep trouble.
All right, the ball at the Woodbridge 45, second and about 8. Here's that option, and McKim takes it, but he'll lose 5 yards.
Mark Flynn, I tell you, nice play by him there. He's there, right position at the right time.
Well, what really broke that up was Sean Smith in on the quarterback, causing him to pitch it just a little early.
You're right, and Sean has been far more active than we've seen him in the first few games.
I also noticed that Dave Clark, number 56, is in on defense.
Correct. Yeah,
and
I wanted to make that observation, John.
And I owe Dave Clark an apology. I understand that I did not call his number out on a big tackle last week against Edison, so my apologies to Dave. Anyway, it's 3rd and 13 for the Barrons, and Anglin drops straight back, looking to the outside for Hill, and just out of reach.
Fortunately, that was not a well-thrown pass because Hill had Maloney looking inside. He was badly beaten on that play.
Okay, East Brunswick has stopped him, and this is the first time in the game that they've actually stopped him from moving for a first down, so a good sign.
And with that basic ground attack by Woodbridge, they have consumed, again, almost half of the second period.
All right, Harmon and Brunig are back for the Bears. Sakala will do the punting. High snap. Good pressure by DeVito and a poor kick straight up in the air, and East Brunswick's going to have it around the Woodbridge 43-yard line.
Credit Joey DeVito's putting the pressure on the punter.
As good as a block, I tell you.
Right, it was as good as a block.
So the Bears with excellent field position to start off with 6:45 to go before half. They trail 7-0.
Mark Harmon has only carried the ball once in this half, after carrying 29 times last week against Edison.
All right, DeVito and Harmon in the backfield with Forte. That's Holcomb out wide right, Giroux in the slot. Forte is going to pass. He's got time. He's got his man. He's looking for Holcomb. He's got it. I mean, Giroux that was, rather. What a catch.
Nice timing play.
Right in between two Woodbridge defenders.
Marcus Borden is really upset. Giroux got hit after he hit the ground, and he thought there should have been a flag. An excellent catch again, though, by Joe Giroux.
All right. Gain of 19 yards on that play.
So the ball down to the Woodbridge 24, and again, East Brunswick's knocking. So far, they've come away empty. 1st and 10. Pitch to Brunig, right side. And Billy will go out around the 21-yard line.
Of course, Brunig being injured, we haven't seen him run too much this year, but we all remember last year that twisting and turning moves that he used to make to get some extra yardage.
Let's call it 2nd and 8 for East Brunswick. Ball spotted at the Woodbridge 22. Giroux wide left now. Forte looking over the middle for Potter. He's got him wide open. Dave Potter scores for the Bears.
Very impressive catch by Dave Potter, and I know he is extremely happy. He's a very emotional young man, and that could do a lot for his confidence, gentlemen.
Well, it's just an excellent play-action pass and an excellent catch by Dave Potter. We talked about it last week when he shouldn't have been jumping for a play. This time he timed it perfectly, caught it with nothing but hands, and with that big body going towards the end zone, I don't think anybody wanted to tackle him.
All right, Miller on for the extra point to tie this game up with 6:04.
We're all breathing a little easier here now.
Good snap, kick is up, and it's good, and we have a tie game.
Boy, Dave had to use all 6'5", Phil, to grab that pass. It was just thrown perfectly. And that touchdown pass by Brian Forte gives him 7 on the season, and that puts him, well, it extends his county lead now to 7 touchdown passes. I think his nearest competitor has 5. There might be a couple of them. Passing-wise, Forte is 5 for 7 and probably around 140 yards so far.
And there's one guy who was glad to see that play.
Yeah.
I've been calling
Dave
Where's
Potter
Dave
all
Potter?
year. And the last 2 games they have used the tight end a lot more, John.
Right. It was open right over the middle. And that's what happens when you have a number of good receivers. With I think Drew, off those 2 catches that he had made so far, was probably drawing extra coverage. And Maloney always gets, and if you can isolate that tight end over the middle.
Josh Miller will kick it off. Wendelkin and McKim are back deep for Woodbridge.
And I would be surprised if this does not go into the end zone with this win.
And Miller with a nice high kick. McKim at about his 2-yard line. He's going to take it up the middle. He's got some running room.
Nice move there.
And McKim brings it out close to the 35-yard line.
Just some great individual running
Exactly.
on a part of McKim. Looked like he was stopped on around his 20. Made that little deke to the left.
It appears the key to this game seems to be whether both teams can play within themselves. I think Woodbridge sort of got out of what they were doing slightly, but a little bit trying to get a little more something different into the game instead of just going with what has been successful.
Woodbridge 1st and 10, just shy of their own 35-yard line. 5:30 to go before half. We have a tie ball game, 7-7. Here's McKim.
Good hard tackle by Brunig.
McKim will pick up about 3. Call it 2nd and 7.
Phil, you'd like to see East Brunswick stiffen up on that line a little bit more. It seems that the Woodbridge runners are able to get past that line, and it's the linebackers and defensive backs that are making the tackles.
Well, once again, it appears to be a bigger line than the line that East Brunswick has.
Anglem calling signals. Mormon in motion. This is McKim once again. And he'll pick up another 4.
And that's what I'm talking about when I say playing within yourself. I mean, on their first touchdown drive, they did pretty much that. They didn't get too fancy, and it worked for them. On the last drive before they stopped, they tried a little flare out here, and you got to have some variety. But if something's working, you got to stay with it. And I think that's what Frank Caparo is going to do right now.
That was 61 Rosario Chetta on the tackle for the Bears. He's a junior.
3rd and 2 for the Barrons. The ball just across their own 40-yard line. Here's McKim.
Another close one.
We'll see. He needs to get up to that 45-yard marker to have the first.
He's got it.
And he looks like he's got it. He does.
So Woodbridge still maintaining its poise after that quick strike touchdown by the Bears. That drive by East Brunswick only took about 1 minute and 10 seconds.
And we're inside 4 minutes to go in the 2nd period. Ball resting at the Woodbridge 45. Anglem dropping back. Here comes Smith. He initial and then taken down by number 91.
91 for East Brunswick. That's Mark Flynn, the middle linebacker.
And we just talked about it. Again, when you're a ball-controlled offense and you're picking up the type of yardage that they are able to pick up 3 and 4 yards at a clip and moving the ball down the field, you get anxious and you want to try something different, and that something different cost them this time.
Right. Passing on 1st down, you really have to be ready for it.
Anglem lost close to 13 yards. So it's 2nd and about 25, let's call it.
And we're under 3 minutes, John. Clock is moving. East Brunswick might even consider calling timeout after this play.
Anglem, he's got it. He's being pressured. Sean Smith's there again.
If I were the Bears, I'd call timeout because it certainly looks like they're going to be getting the ball back. And the clock is moving now with 2:40.
I'll tell you, Sean Smith has come to play today, and
He's
I'm glad to
with a
see
vengeance.
that. Sean had started out at the beginning of the year with an injury, didn't play against Cherokee, and I think was feeling some of that, the residue of that injury in the last few games, but he's turned it on now, and he's looking exceptional.
East Brunswick calls a timeout, and you're right, Jim.
That's their first timeout, John?
First.
Okay, so they have 2 more. And they should get the ball. Let's assume that Woodbridge makes up just a little of this. What is it, about how many yards? 30 yards or so on this 3rd down?
36.
They still should get the ball probably in excellent shape to punch it in. Perhaps even Miller can get a shot. But the way Forte's throwing this afternoon, you know, anything goes.
Well, Frank Caparo's got to be thinking. He's got to be maybe second-guessing on that pass play, second-guessing himself. Things are very evident that he has to stick with his game plan, which is to control that ball. Keep the ball out of East Brunswick's hands, because East Brunswick has shown that they can pass that ball at will practically. And so the big thing is not to let them have the ball at all.
I guess this is kind of like that run-and-shoot offense we were talking about at the beginning of the season, where you sort of flood the area with about 5 receivers, and Forte, with his height and his vision and just his presence, is able to find the open receiver.
Exactly.
All right, the Barrons facing a 3rd and 36 with 2:31 to go before a half, and they've been moving backwards of late. Anglem again.
He'll keep it.
And Matt Miller, the initial hit. East Brunswick will call timeout again.
I'll tell you, an interesting call. I guess he felt that on the last 2 plays he's lost quite a bit yardage. What he didn't want to do was lose any more yards, because East Brunswick's defense has been blowing in there.
Phil, he didn't want to put it in the air also because of the turnover situation, but I don't know. With the punting game the way it is, unless Woodbridge gets a good roll or East Brunswick fouls up the punt, they're going to get the ball in good position anyway. So I would have put it in the air.
I'm looking for Harmon to break one here, a punt or a kickoff,
which he is certainly capable of doing. By the way, I forgot to mention that career-wise, even though this is Mark Harmon's junior year, coming into this game, he already had 749 yards. So he likely is going to pass the 1,000-yard mark before not too long. He had 121 yards last week with those 29 carries against Edison, and DeVito had 14 carries for 106 yards. Statistics courtesy of Bill Munyon.
So East Brunswick takes their second timeout. They're obviously looking to set up a return here. Woodbridge facing a 4th and 32 with 2:19 to go, and they're going to punt the ball away, and East Brunswick will send Brunig and Harmon back deep, and Sakala will do the punting.
Watch DeVito. I believe they're going to send him.
High snap once again, and DeVito not able to get there, but it doesn't matter because the punt is once again a poor punt going out at the Woodbridge 40.
Well, we've discovered that kicking is not one of Sakala's fortes.
So the
good
Bears,
heads-up play, John. Joe DeVito coming in on that had the presence to hold up on that and risk the roughing the kicker, which would have squelched the whole opportunity for the Bears.
Ball is spotted at the Woodbridge 38, 2:10 to go in the second period. East Brunswick looking to put one on before half, and Forte is going to drop back and put it in the air. Right over the middle, looking for Giroux, and that was McKim who broke up the pass.
I'll tell you, a dangerous pass too. McKim was right on him, and again, just a fraction over, and McKim would have intercepted that ball.
So it'll be 2nd and 10 for the Bears. That stops the clock with 2:03 to go. East Brunswick has 1 timeout remaining.
I'd look for Dave Potter once again.
Forte will roll to his right. Looking downfield, looking, and dumps it off to DeVito, who I believe will have the first. Let's see where they mark his forward progress.
Excellent play.
An excellent play.
Well, I'll tell you, Brian just missed going over the line of scrimmage on that play, and he does get a first down and gets out of bounds.
That'll stop the clock with 1:52 to go. We're tied at 7.
I think for the first time this year, we've seen the East Brunswick passing offense as we know it can work. I counted 5 receivers out there on that play.
And Dave Potter was open, wide open, as a matter of fact.
All right, the Bears send Holcomb wide left, Giroux wide right. Forte will drop straight back, looking, now being pressured. He's got to roll to his left.
Potter
throws on the run. There's Potter in the end zone.
Whoa.
Touchdown, East Brunswick.
What do you think about that, folks?
What an arm, rolling to his left. Dave Forte hits Potter.
And we may see the emergence of a newfound receiver for East Brunswick, primary receiver. Old David is, I think he's ecstatic right now.
You got to like how he's catching that ball, too. He waved to Brian to let him know that he was open and caught it with nothing but hands once again.
So East Brunswick will look to add their 14th point with 1:41 to go before half. White will hold. Good snap. And the kick is no good. Again, wide to the left. So East Brunswick on top now, 13-7.
Well, and more important than missing the field, the extra point, although that's disappointing, is the fact that East Brunswick does get up on the board real quick. And boy, they scored quick, gentlemen.
Well,
right down the field.
And that's the thing. They can score very quickly. And Frank Caparo has to know that. And, again, I think the second half, what you're going to see is he's not going to be trying as much passing. And he hasn't done that much passing. But he's going to be keeping that ball on the ground, going with McKim, picking up that 3 and 4 yards just to keep the ball out of East Brunswick's hands. And that's what he's got to do, because it's very clear East Brunswick can throw practically anywhere they want to.
Right. Forte's passing statistics in the first half. And remember, East Brunswick did not have the ball all that much. He is 7 for 10 for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns. And those are impressive statistics for a whole game.
And the ball falls off the tee, so Josh Miller will have to re-tee it. Wendelken and McKim are back deep for the Barrons.
Funny how things change. Bears only ran the ball 5 times this half. They had, oh God, how many carries the last game?
High kick. This is going to be Wendelken at his 7-yard line. Wendelken, he's a big one. Crosses the 30.
Down there first as usual, Joe DeVito.
And you had Sink Ugar in there on that tackle.
So the Barrons will have it with 1:33 to go. They trail by 6, 13-7. Problem is, Phil and Jim, with that type of offense, you can't keep it on the ground much with only 1:20 now left.
Yeah.
Right. And
So
East Brunswick will be ready.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Anglem rather, drops back. Smith putting some pressure on. Now he's going to throw deep down the field. Harmon's going to come back for the interception. Mark Harmon will be taken down at the 45-yard line.
Yeah,
but
Mr.
East Brunswick,
Meggiolaro, you called it.
And John, I was just getting ready to say, you know, despite all that, what they don't want to do is give the ball back to East Brunswick with a bad pass. And they might have been better. And this is just as in hindsight, because I was really thinking about that. Running that ball and maybe running out that clock, but do not let East Brunswick get another score before the half end.
Well, so I'll tell you what, I think maybe one time we've seen Anglin, is that his last name? Anglin pass the ball well he does really not have, you can see he doesn't have the right touch on the ball. He just sort of lofts it up there. The ball is pointing upward, and the wind can catch it, and it was held up enough. And of course, when you have Mark Harmon back there with his reaction, he just stepped in front of it and just took it. Fortunate for Woodbridge that Harmon didn't have any room to run with the ball, or that would have been the end of the show.
well, the Bears will have it on their own 45. They have 1:03 seconds to go before half. They've called their last timeout.
And Marcus is probably giving them several plays to call in succession. So they're going to go for it all, no doubt about it.
What do you expect, Phil?
They got so many weapons right now, they can
sure
do
do.
anything. Potter looks like he's been open practically any time he's wanted to get open, so that's conceivable. You got Giroux. You got Harmon coming out of the backfield.
Gosh, they have Potter split wide to the right.
All right, Forte drops straight back. Right on the money.
He should get out of bounds.
I believe that's Giroux. Joe Giroux, and good heads-up play, making the reception, picking up some yards, and then stepping out of bounds to stop the clock with 53 seconds. First down for the Bears.
And give Mark Harmon an assist on that for a big block there, giving Forte just enough time to get that pass there.
Ball at the Woodbridge 33.
Give him 25 yards on that pass play.
Holcomb and Giroux split wide left. Potter out to the right. Forte.
Nice protection.
Good time. Looking deep downfield. He's going to throw it out of the end zone.
Oh, mercy.
What an arm.
Oh, mercy.
That ball was 45 yards in the air on a line.
And his target was Potter.
Just an unbelievable arm Brian Forte has on him. You can hear when he put the ball up, there was a hush over the crowd.
Folks, you just do not see high school arms like this. It's just very, very rare for somebody. And again, he's a junior.
And Jim, you made a good point. That offensive line has given him good time to pick up his secondary receivers. So East Brunswick will crank it up one more time, 44 seconds. Same formation. And Forte will drop straight back again. Looking down to center to field for Potter again and overthrown.
I'll tell you, Potter didn't run out his pattern fully there. He slowed up instead of running that pattern out fully. If he would have run it out fully, there was a good chance he would have had a touchdown there. He's looking back when he should have been just making his break.
It'll be 3rd and 10 with 38 seconds to go for the Bears. Ball on the Woodbridge 33.
And Potter may be a little tired. They've been having quite a few pass places. I think he just slowed down a little bit from fatigue.
And I think he got it right. Maloney's coming. Okay. Maloney coming in to replace Holcomb.
And it appears, too, Woodbridge is playing a zone back there because they can't keep man-to-man.
I'm not sure that's going to work, John.
Forte. He's got time. Now being pressured. Gets away from one tackler. On the run. Stands there and drops it off to DeVito.
Oh, mercy.
And a flag is thrown. I think we're going to have a lineman downfield.
That's the call. Unfortunate for East Brunswick because what that does is effectively put Josh Miller out of field goal range, although I would not preclude the fact that they may still go for it.
It's a 5-yard penalty and loss of down.
Loss of down.
Let's see what the call is.
And I believe it's from the spot of the foul. Oh, it's a clip.
Oh.
Blocking below the waist against East Brunswick. Ineligible man downfield against East Brunswick. So there are 2.
That's what happens when you have all that scrambling back there.
Oh, yeah. And they'll take the one that hurts the most, obviously.
If I was Woodbridge, I would take the illegal pass receiver because they will lose the down. They would not lose the down on the clip.
And that's what they're discussing with the Woodbridge captain. 26 seconds to go before halftime. East Brunswick leads 13-7. That was a 3rd and 10 play. And we'll see what happens. It's like a national summit.
Would have been nice to see the Bears put some more points on the board.
And we have the official explaining to Marcus Borden that there were 2 penalties.
Well, let's see which one we'll watch the officials.
That's the penalty.
They take the clip.
They'll take the loss of down penalty, which was the ineligible receiver.
Right.
So it'll make it 4th and 15.
55-yarder if Miller decides to go for it.
And they're looking. And East Brunswick, Forte's still in there, so they're going to punt this ball.
You sure about that, John? We hear the Woodbridge spotters behind us saying, watch the fake.
Forte back in punt formation.
And he will punt it. He's going to. And the ball go into the end zone and come out to the Woodbridge 20, where they'll have it with 18 seconds to go.
I'm sort of surprised about that. I'm surprised that they didn't, even on 4th down, go for it. They've shown that they can pass with ease. Woodbridge doesn't have the ability really to pass the ball to any great distance, and with the time left, they're certainly not going to.
Let's talk field goal, Phil. I mean, if they weren't successful on the field goal, the ball would be in the same spot as it is now.
Well, I just am surprised they didn't go for another passing it.
Well, that's why we're up here. Anyway, Anglim's got the ball for the Barrons. 1st and 10. Here's McKim.
And that's going to run the clock out, I guess. Oh, Woodbridge will call timeout.
That I don't understand.
He goes to the 26-yard.
Anyway, 12 seconds to go before the half now. And this has been a long last minute.
And as you look at Frank Capraro walking out on the field, he's been a coach at Woodbridge for 15 years now. And I'll tell you, he has to go on my all nice coach team. He's just the most pleasant coach, even before the game, that you want to talk to. Tony Simonelli falls into that same category as well. But Frank Capraro, 15 years at Woodbridge. And I asked him why the wing T. He says, because that's all I know. And he says that, you don't have to worry about it's the most adaptable type of offense to no matter what your personnel is. Just an honest and pleasant young fella.
Well, we should be honest, too, that Woodbridge over the years has not been blessed with many outstanding football players. And as you said, the wing T meets the needs of the talent that he has.
Well, I think we should mention that despite not having a lot of talent last year, the Barrons did manage to finish with a 6-2-1 record, which tied them for the conference championship with East Brunswick and J.P. Stevens.
Well, they're well coached. They're big. They're generally a big team every year. And they get that wing T going, they could be deadly.
I would not expect a pass here.
12 seconds now. This is McKim. And McKim will bring it up close to the 35, and that should do it.
Now we're going to get another timeout, John.
And I don't understand, really.
Well, it's going to look good in the stats anyway. While we have a moment, that last drive by East Brunswick, even though it didn't produce any points, there was that one pass completion, good for about 25 or 10 yards, I believe it was. That brings Forte's statistics up to 174 yards on the half on 8 for 13.
It was a first down for the Barrons, so we'll have a 1st and 10 with 5 seconds, but that's really moot at this point. And this certainly should be the last play of the half.
I think all things considered, gentlemen, East Brunswick should feel fairly good about coming off at halftime with a 13-7 lead. Things looked a little precarious there, certainly in the early portion of the second period when Woodbridge had a 7-0 lead.
First and 10 from the 34.
Anglem. He's dropping back, looking to throw. He's looking down the sideline for McKim.
Oh, Holcomb.
Casacalla, and Holcomb comes up with the interception.
Who?
Collision, and it looks like McKim is down.
I'll tell you, a 3-way collision there.
It's Casacalla who's down.
Okay.
That will do it for the first half with East Brunswick on top, 13-7. Casacalla is up. But an unusual play for the last play of the half.
Well, I think you saw the collision there, and another scenario with that is that both East Brunswick players can collide, and the Woodbridge player comes up with the ball. I think that's what Woodbridge was hoping for. Casacalla is holding his left shoulder, so we'll have to see what his availability is going to be in the second half.
All right, as you see the Bears walking into the locker room for their halftime. And so, with the score 13-7 at Brisco Stadium, we'll be back in a minute with the start of the third period.
East Brunswick's hands. It's simple as that.
Well, as we get ready for the start of the second half of this game between East Brunswick and Woodbridge, where the score is East Brunswick 13, Woodbridge 7, I think we need to talk a little bit about this opening drive that we're going to see.
Well,
go ahead, Phil.
Well, you know, East Brunswick third quarters, particularly immediately after half, haven't been good to East Brunswick. They've had trouble. We know 3 teams have taken the ball right down and scored on the drives. East Brunswick needs to stop Woodbridge. Woodbridge, on the other hand, needs to control that ball, eat up as much clock as possible, and hopefully score. They just absolutely have to keep the ball out of East Brunswick's hands. It's simple as that.
Right. You saw what Brian Forte can do when he gets the ball. He's got a lot of open receivers, and he seems to be on today. So ball control is going to continue to be the important aspect for Woodbridge. I do know that just looking at some unofficial statistics, that East Brunswick carried the ball only 5 times on the ground the first half and had a net -2 yards rushing.
Wow.
So I don't know what that says, except that in the passing department, though, we mentioned Forte is 8 for 13 for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, both going to Dave Potter. However, they only have that 6-point lead, and so that if Woodbridge does score one more time and converts on the extra point, they will take the lead. East Brunswick, for sure, wants to score a couple of more touchdowns, and I think would like to start by shutting down the Woodbridge offense. And that means keying on Dennis McKim, number 33. He has been the brunt of the Woodbridge offense this afternoon. And then giving the ball back to Forte. But again, watch for a quick moving third quarter as Woodbridge keeps it on the ground.
Well, East Brunswick scores came in the form of Forte to Dave Potter passes, both around 21 yards. The first one, the extra point was good. The second one was no good. Josh Miller missing wide to the left, and that's the 13 points for East Brunswick. Woodbridge jumped out on top to start this game, 7-0. McKim going over from 14 yards with about 1:34 to go in the first period. And in fact, they ate up most of the time in that first period.
Right, we know the Bears only got the ball one time. As a matter of fact, didn't get their hands on the ball for the second time until, with 7 minutes left to go in the second half, second period.
Well, Josh Miller will kick it off to start the second half. And McKim and Wendelken are back deep, and this will be Wendelken. And he crosses the end zone, rather, and the ball come up to the 20, and that's where Woodbridge will start. You cannot run the ball out of your end zone.
Well, the Barrons not with that good field position that they had in the first half. And Miller does his job, putting it in the end zone.
And I think you're right, gentlemen. We're going to see a long, or an attempt at a long, time-consuming drive here by Woodbridge. I don't think you're going to see that ball in the air.
And it's the natural thing for them to do after watching them play. That's what they do best.
All right, the Barrons will start off this third period, 1st and 10, the ball on their own 20. And Anglin's going to pass. Looking to the outside for Hill, and he throws it over his head.
You know, it shows you how smart we are, but it's, I'd have to say, major mistake. I think they're going to surprise East Brunswick. They didn't be, and even if they do surprise them, as you see by the passing game, it's just not that effective.
Well, what it does now, it gives them really 2 downs to get those 10 yards.
I'm just really,
with a run-oriented offense.
I'm just surprised that they came out that. I really am.
2nd and 10. Ball on the Woodbridge 20. We've just started third period action. Here's McKim. And McKim will pick up 7 yards.
Well, and that's my point, John. That's what they do best. They should want to come out the second half, control that ball, eat up some clock, hopefully score. And
for them, Phil.
For them, I'm just saying, it's very clear what they have to do.
Right. Well, East Brunswick going to take advantage of the situation. We have seen the Woodbridge kicking game amount to nothing this afternoon, and if they are forced to punt deep in their own territory, the Bears again will have good field position.
All right, 3rd, and let's call it 4 for the Barrons. Anglin looking to throw out to the outside. He's got his man, and that's Morum. 1st down.
Gets the first.
And we should point out, Woodbridge has only been in East Brunswick territory once this afternoon, and that was on that drive they had in the first period to score. So they have not enjoyed good field position at all. 1st and 10 for the Barrons, 10:54 to go in the third period. We've just started. Woodbridge taking the opening kickoff of this third period. McKim and Sakala in the backfield. And this is McKim. And he's a bull to bring down. He gets up to the 35. Picks up about 4.
And expect to see him again.
Gained up to just about the 31. 2nd down and about 6. 2nd and about 6.
We'll call it 2nd and 6 for the Barrons. They trail 13-7. Sakala in motion, takes the handoff.
So he's back, having received that jar in the shoulder on the interception by Shannon Holcomb at the last play in the second period. But it does, John, bring up a 3rd and long yardage for Woodbridge.
3rd and about 5 as Sakala picks up maybe 2.
Flynn turning that play in for Miller to make the tackle.
Haven't seen the linebackers, or I haven't heard the linebackers' names mentioned too much this afternoon for East Brunswick.
3rd and 5. We'll see what Woodbridge calls. That's Sakala in motion. That's McKim with the ball, and he's going to be short.
Right.
And so Woodbridge now will be forced to punt.
That was Mark Flynn, 55.
Excellent tackle.
And this is not the position Woodbridge wants to be.
I saw the East Brunswick coaching staff huddled outside the locker room, and they were talking for a good 5 to 6 minutes, discussing the defensive adjustments that had to be made. And I don't know what they did inside there, but they seem to be playing with a little more poise.
All right, Sakala back to punt. And he is yet to get off a good punt.
Oh, we got a whistle.
That may be his best punt. Really.
Well, if this is against East Brunswick,
That'll
let's
be a
watch
first
it
down.
here. Could be a delay game.
That's what it is.
Okay. I was worried about that one. If that was against East Brunswick, it would have given Woodbridge an automatic first down.
So moving back 5, make it 4th and 8.
Watch Joe DeVito on the bottom of your screen now.
Well, there may be no reason to try to block this. I mean, this kid isn't kicking anywhere.
Brunig and Harmon back deep. He gets the kick off. This is going to be Brunig at his own 40.
He takes it.
And Brunig gets up to around the 43. And that's where East Brunswick will go on offense for the first time this half.
Again, good field position for the Bears. John and Phil, the soccer teams had enjoyed an excellent week. The boys team came through with a 1-0 victory over highly ranked Westfield, tied a highly ranked Jackson team 0-0, and then shut out Toms River East 6-0. We'll get to the girls in a second.
All right, Giroux, wide left, very wide left. He's right near the sideline. I formation. Here's DeVito, and Joe will pick up 2.
You know, in the first half, the Bears had I think I measured a -2 yards rushing. So maybe they want to establish more of a running game.
Let's call it 2nd and 8. The ball just shy of the East Brunswick 45. 7:42 to go in the 3rd period. The Bears on top, 13-7. Forte will pass. Looking. Now moves back to his left, still looking.
A lot of room to run if he wants.
Good block. He's got time.
Mercy.
He hits Holcomb.
Mercy.
But a flag has been thrown, and there's going to be a crackback block.
Yeah. And that player is down for Woodbridge.
Frank Caparo is incensed. He is incensed.
It was against Ofocanic, number 62.
And the call's blocking below the waist, and Frank Caparo is incensed. He, you know, you don't like to see that, but sometimes you're just not in position. And
He's the one who got.
So that'll move the Bears back.
We'll bring back a 25-yard gainer.
The penalty will be against East Brunswick.
But Holcomb was wide open, and it just goes to show that East Brunswick can pass at will, really, against Woodbridge.
Well, yeah, but the thing we've been noticing too many times, these 15-yard penalties have been coming when Forte elects to run out of the pocket. I was watching the linemen to see if they were staying in and not going downfield. That they did do, but the crackback block just wipes out that gain.
All right, it brings East Brunswick back to their own 21-yard line.
Right, that foul is from the point of where they blocked, so it's way back there.
2nd and about 23. Forte, he's got Harmon in the flat, and he overthrows him.
Bears trying to set up a screen on that play.
It never set up, really.
Right, it really never developed.
once you get a man in the middle of that, and you had number 34 for Woodbridge there,
That's Cassiola.
Cassiola in the middle of it. So
Yeah.
they certainly couldn't get it going.
So it'll be 3rd, and actually it was 32 that last down, so it's 3rd and 32 now. for East Brunswick.
Rooney and DeVito in the backfield.
And Forte will look to put it in the air. Rolls to his right. Throwing deep down, looking for Giroux. And just over his head. And East Brunswick will be forced to punt.
That was close. Just a little over from Brian has just been a tad. Maybe it's this wind, Phil.
Well,
you
he's been a little over, but he's been so sensational throwing on the run that you got to remember, it's not a drop back pass. He is throwing on the run, and to get as accurate as he has been something else.
And Woodbridge ought to get the ball in good field position.
Forte back to punt.
Brian is punting with the wind, however. Good snap.
And it's a fake. Forte rolling. And Forte taken down across his own 30, and Woodbridge will have excellent field position.
Well, we can use hindsight on that play, but gosh, with 32 yards to go for a first down, that was a risky play.
Well, it's a risky play. You got to wonder. You got to wonder, was it called from the bench or what? But
yeah.
The thing about it, Brian did have some receivers open when he pumped, and perhaps if he would have hit him then, they might have broke something. But he was waiting for him to go longer.
Well, Woodbridge has the ball at the East Brunswick 33, 1st and 10, and again, they only trail by 6. 6:20 to go in the third period, and here's McKim. McKim close to the 30.
Good stop by Mark Flynn.
He'll pick up 3. It'll be 2nd and 7 for the Barrons. But that's how you keep a team in the game.
Well, yeah, I think our feelings are all the same, you know.
I mean, there's a time and place for a fake, but I didn't think that was the time.
Nor the place.
Well,
we'll see what the East Brunswick defense can do. 2nd and 7 for the Barrons. Mormon in motion. This is McKim once again, and he's going to carry about 5 tacklers close to the first down.
You're right, John. The pile is just moving backwards as he tunnels through there.
Well, you know, a play like that not only gives Woodbridge good field position, but it also gives them some excitement, some energy as a team.
Exactly right. They get the adrenaline flowing and know this is an opportunity. Now they really can do what they do best, is pick up those 4 and 5 yards.
Another on the ground.
Another critical third down for Woodbridge. It's 3rd and about 2. That's McKim. He dives. I think he's got it. Let's see where they mark him. Well, they're marking it short. They're going to call for the chains.
I'll tell you, this McKim is such a strong fire plug type runner. Sink Ugar blitzed in, got a piece of him, but McKim just kept going straight ahead.
We mentioned well, we'll look at this first down, but we mentioned the girls soccer team. I wanted to let you know that they are 9-1 right now.
And they're short.
They are short. They'll probably go for it. But the girls have a 9-1 record, and most recently defeated Saraville 3-1, and all 3 goals coming by Lisa Gagno, who now has, I believe, 22.
I think you're right, Jim.
Okay.
And
I think they were ranked 4th in the state this week by the Star Ledger.
So they dropped down for 3 notches.
This may be the first quarterback sneak that we've seen this year.
4th rather, in inches for the Barrons. They want to keep this drive alive. And they give it to McKim, and McKim barrels inside the 20.
Dragging tacklers with him.
He's just a strong runner.
So the ball is at the East Brunswick 19, 1st and 10 for Woodbridge with 4:30 to go in the third period.
Back in again for Mormon in the backfield.
Well, just a few minutes ago, it appeared that East Brunswick was driving, and then that crackback block just turned everything around.
Casacala in motion. McKim again with the ball, off tackle, and he's down close to the 10-yard line.
More hard running.
Dennis McKim.
He goes to the 13.
I don't think they've dropped him for a loss yet.
No, they haven't.
even when he's hit behind the line of scrimmage, he still is able to squirm his way forward and at least get a couple of yards.
2nd and 4. The ball resting at the East Brunswick 17. I'm sorry, the 12. McKim again close to the 10.
Bill Brunig tripping him up there, coming from his safety position to do so.
Well, you got to do something to, to put a front up on that line. It seems like McKim, on his own ability, after he's getting a few blocks, is able to bust through. So you want to clog that middle if you can.
McKim gets back to the line of scrimmage. It'll be 3rd and 2. Clock running, and we're down to inside 3 minutes left in the 3rd period. Woodbridge looking to tie this game up. East Brunswick's on top, 13-7. Anglim's gonna pass. He's looking for his man in the end zone. He's got him, number 80, touchdown, Woodbridge. That was Jeff Cahill on the reception.
Kind of surprising. You would have thought that Woodbridge would have gone for it on the ground, but East Brunswick obviously caught looking for that play.
And that's exactly what made it work right there.
Right. And the Barrons can go ahead on this extra point here.
Jowett on for the extra point. Score coming with 2:48 to go in the period. The kick is good, and Woodbridge takes the lead, 14-13.
And more nerve time for the Bears.
Well, that 15-yard penalty and the fake punt.
And Woodbridge capitalizing on it all. They got good field position and did what they do best as far as taking those short runs for a drive. Did a little play action and popped the pass there and for the touchdown, kicked the extra point, and they are in the lead right now.
Well, this is reminiscent of what we saw in the first period of the game.
Correct. East Brunswick is going to have to regain the momentum that it had gotten early in the 2nd period off those touchdowns, as Woodbridge is probably going to be fired up defensively after this successful drive of them.
You're right.
All right, Harmon, DeVito, and Brunig are back deep for the Bears. Jewett will kick it off. Good kick. This is going to be Harmon at the 7. Fakes the reverse to DeVito. He has it, looking for the wall. Mark Harmon's outside.
Going. He's going.
There's the cut.
Mark Harmon.
He's going.
Down to the 40, 35.
Woo. Well, he had
Harmon
to slow
spins
up.
and is dropped at the 30.
He had to slow up.
Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho.
Seems like he ran out of gas, Phil.
He was cutting. He made it nice. He fooled about 5 tacklers there, and then one guy coming up from the blind backside there, and he couldn't outmaneuver him, but a fine run by Mark Harmon.
Right, he had a nice wall. Good blocking job by the East Brunswick kicking team.
East Brunswick 1st and 10 at the Woodbridge 30. Here's Harmon, spins, and he's going to lose a yard.
A host of Woodbridge tacklers there.
All right.
I tell you, Woodbridge seems to be fired up right now, despite that long return by Harmon.
And we're inside of 2 minutes in the 3rd period.
And, you know, after that long run back by Mark Harmon, you wonder why his number is called on that. He's going off the field now.
He's a little winded.
Needs a blow.
Okay, Potter wide left. Holcomb and Drew wide right. Forte looking, sets up, throws over the middle. There's Holcomb. 1st down inside the 15-yard line.
Forte drilled the pass into Holcomb.
Another fine pass, and we've said it before. It appears that they can do that just about any time they want to. That's why the fake punt was such a surprise.
Bears 1st and 10. Ball spotted at the Woodbridge 15. Pitch to Harmon.
He cuts it inside.
Cuts inside. Mark dives.
Nice running.
Close to the 5-yard line.
And that is about the best run that East Brunswick has been able to muster all day long.
Ball spotted at the Woodbridge 7. 2nd and about 2 for the Bears.
So the Bears can get a 1st down without having to go in. They need to get to about the 5-yard line.
I look for Joey DeVito to take it up the gut there.
Yeah, that would be a good call.
50 seconds to go, third period. East Brunswick on the move. Here's DeVito.
Ooh.
And he'll get back to the line of scrimmage.
Well, Woodbridge looked for him to do it too.
Right.
They're right on it.
That's close to it's not too far to go.
It'll be third and let's call it a long one.
Definitely 2-down territory here.
Have we seen the bootleg this year?
You know, Woodbridge, I believe, only has 10 men on the field.
Forte, this is Harmon. He's going to sprint to the right side. Can he turn the corner?
There's the speed.
And he dives, but he's knocked out of bounds at about the 1-yard line.
Give him a first down, John.
But it will be a first down for the Bears. First and goal from the 1.
Now the only thing you want to avoid is a turnover.
6 seconds to go in the period.
I didn't get an opportunity to count the players, but I heard somebody in the press box say we only have 10 men on the field, that being the Woodbridge spotters.
Full house backfield with Miller, DeVito, and Brunick, rather. And Forte on a quarterback sneak scores for the Bears.
He walks right in.
So East Brunswick comes back and answers the Woodbridge score.
And East Brunswick calls timeout.
I'll tell you, you got to give East Brunswick credit. They have showed great propensity for coming back in crucial situations to score. Once again, we have a patented Marcus Borden timeout for an extra point.
Yeah, it needs the timeout. Frankly, Phil, my observation is unless East Brunswick has made some sort of error, mental error, whether it be a penalty or whatever, Woodbridge has not been able to stop them.
Right.
We saw Forte have to punt one time this afternoon.
Well, actually twice.
Twice. Once was the fake, yeah. But East Brunswick, if it has been stopped, it has been because of its own errors.
Okay, what's the play, Jimmy? We know they're going for the 2 points, so what's the call?
Well, with the pass working as well as it has, I suspect that there's going to be about 4 or 5 receivers flooded into the zone, in the end zone, and Forte is probably going to roll out and try to find the open man.
Okay, as long as it's not Mark Harmon to the short side. If so, I'm jumping off this scaffold, okay?
Well, you know, I have to tell you, I asked Borden,
unless he scores on it.
Phil, I asked Marcus about the run to the short side, and the reason being is that there are 2 wide receivers to the opposite side. Borden's trying to draw some people to that side and, you know, make it available for Harmon to run.
Phil, you'll be happy to know the ball's in the center of the field.
No short side.
Forte looking. He still has it. He's going to walk in for the 2-point conversion.
Good mobility by Forte on the 2 points.
He's just an excellent athlete.
So the Bears on top, 21-14.
Very nice play by Brian.
Brian does it all. I was talking with the Woodbridge fan a little bit earlier who saw Ray Stevens for Stewart for Perth Amboy, who says it's a very fine quarterback, but he's got to believe that Brian is the best in the area here.
All right, we have 3 seconds to go in the third period. Bears on top, 21-14, and Josh Miller will kick it off. I'll be honest with you, this is a better game than we expected.
Oh, it's much closer than we thought it would, and we noticed that it was the lethargy on the part of East Brunswick that probably enabled Woodbridge to first get the momentum. East Brunswick did come back and score twice, and then they have taken the lead once again for the 21-14 lead, but by no means out of the woods.
All right, Wendelkin and McKim back deep for the Barrons. And Miller with a good foot. Ball nice and high, taking McKim back to the 1-yard line.
Ooh.
And a flag's been thrown, and McKim fumbles the ball.
He's down.
And they're called him down.
There goes another flag. I wonder if that's the same call or if there's 2 different penalties here.
McKim crossed the 15-yard line and fumbled, but they said that he was down, but 2 flags have been thrown. That'll be the last play of the third period as the officials try to sort out the penalties.
I would suspect this is against Woodbridge. Usually that's the situation when you see flags being thrown from far away. And they are going to mark off the penalty with half the distance from a 15. So that's going to bring it down to the 7-yard line, and then we're going to move to the opposite end of the field to begin the fourth quarter.
Blocking below the waist against Woodbridge. And now the teams will switch sides as we get ready for the last 12 minutes of action here at Brisco Stadium.
That was a fast-moving third period,
Yeah.
John. It really was. East Brunswick scored again quick. There was not a lot of time on the clock when they got the ball back after that touchdown. Credit Mark Harmon with a long run, setting up good field position for the Bears. That was a rather timely kickoff return. The Bears really needed a little shot in the arm.
Well, the Barrons going to try to get back into this game, and all they need is a score to do that.
Our congratulations, by the way, to the girls tennis team for capturing the Greater Middlesex Conference Team Championship. There was some individual winners in that play. Kristen Daly, the third singles, won her bracket, while the doubles team of Wendy Klepner and Elena Kassan and Sherry Akrish and Jody Kulik won the first and second doubles. And Meredith Hirsch was a runner-up in the second singles. So congratulations to the girls. Elaine Gerstein, second-year coach, doing an excellent job.
She's doing an outstanding job. Woodbridge now from their own 7-yard line. First and 10. Here's Sakala. And Sakala will pick up maybe 2.
Sort of wonder why they don't give the ball to McKim every time. He's positive yardage for them.
That's Harmon and Mark Flynn on the bottom of that pile.
Well, Woodbridge is at a point in the game where they really can't afford to give up that ball to East Brunswick without a score.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
So this is a very important drive for them, because if they don't score and East Brunswick gets it back, it could be all over, because they do not have a catch-up offense.
Exactly.
All right, Anglum over center. 2nd and 8. Looking, dropping back. Little pressure now. And Dave Clark will take him down.
Right. Good play by the junior defensive lineman.
He tried to straight arm Dave Clark, and that was a mistake. He would have been better off keep running.
Right. Dave Clark, I understand, is one of the people on the team that can bench press a lot of weight.
And that's why I was glad I got his number right this time. Dave used to be my paper boy.
Oh.
Gosh.
So I feel an obligation to be accurate with him. Anyway, he's playing a lot of defense today.
Important play right here.
3rd and 13. And here's McKim right up the middle.
Oh, gosh. Why call it up the middle on a 3rd and long?
It's indicative of what their offense is about. I mean, it's 3rd and 13, and they have to go with the safe play like that.
So the Bears ought to get the ball in good field position. Here comes the Woodbridge punting game again, and there's a different punter back there. Try to get his number 15. That's Kazmarek, Jared Kazmarek.
From his own end zone, nice high kick. Brunig will field it at the Woodbridge 40, fakes the reverse, cuts up.
He has room on the
He's got a wall on the left side. Brunig's gonna go.
He's going in.
Billy Brunig with a 40-yard return.
And if we want to criticize why East Brunswick reverses all the time, maybe that's the reason right there. I think the whole team was expecting the ball to go to Mark Harmon.
Exactly.
Brunig keeps it. There was a nice little wall on the far sideline, and Brunig really just had to run his route, and he was in.
Well, you got to give all that specialty team credit for the execution.
Exactly.
But particularly Billy Brunig and how he faked the ball. Definitely faked it, put it on his hip, and then scooted around the left side behind that wall.
All right, the Bears looking to add their 28th point. Josh Miller's out on the field. Good snap, and Miller drills it through, and now it's the East Brunswick Bears 28, Woodbridge 14.
Very nice drive. Very nice play by that Jesse James gang, special teams.
And the wall set up beautifully.
It
really
just
was.
excellent, really.
And East Brunswick's quick strike offense, that's what we've seen this afternoon, gentlemen, the ability to score quick. And Woodbridge really was doing a fine job up until this time now, and I think now being down 2 touchdowns,
Well, it just took the win out of
it
their
really
sails.
is. It's really
Yep.
it's going to be a tough uphill battle for them.
Well, that's why we said it was so important on that last possession by Woodbridge that they do something with it. They could not, punted the ball away, and East Brunswick really didn't need Forte in the offense. Bill Brunig returns the punt 40 yards for the score.
Miller will be kicking.
9:45 to go in the game, and the crowd has become very quiet here on the Woodbridge side. So Josh Miller will kick it off once again.
As the whistle becomes to kick.
Wendelkin with it at his 6-yard line. Right up the middle, and he'll cross the 30-yard line.
And what happens when you live with the run, as Woodbridge does, is that you put yourself now in a position where you're going to have to put it in the air, I suspect.
And you can expect perhaps an interception or two as well.
That's what usually happens.
Woodbridge will have it 1st and 10 on their own 31. Clock is running. We're down to 9:20 to go in the game. The Bears on top by 2 touchdowns, 28-14. And McKim, and, look, and he powers for about 8 yards.
He is a hard runner, regardless.
It really is. Oh, I see the coach for Perth Amboy, Mike Salento, off to our right.
And we have Tony Simonelli here as well, Jimmy.
Exactly.
Yep.
All the
J.P. Stevens.
and the Cedar Ridge coaching staff, Jerry Bandola and Doug O'Connell, among others, Mike Lepore.
2nd and about 2 for Woodbridge, their own 38. Here's Mormon on that little counter that they run, and White drives him out of bounds.
Nice play by the sophomore.
Speaking about all the coaches here scouting, Jimmy, you just got to wonder, they had to worry about DeVito and Harmon and Trent and Drew, and all of a sudden this number 85, Dave Potter, comes out of nowhere, and it's another thing for them to have to prepare for.
It really is. It's the multifaceted offense. And you're going to get tired of me hearing of saying this, but every one of those players we just mentioned are juniors.
Ooh.
They'll all be back next year.
So Woodbridge with a 3rd and about 3. Another 3rd down for them. And it'll be McKim. Who else?
Ooh.
McKim's got the 1st down and
Ooh.
more.
It's got room.
Gets outside.
Woo.
Scott McKim goes into East Brunswick territory down to the East Brunswick 40.
And he just ran over 2 of East Brunswick would-be tacklers.
He really did.
You can imagine what Woodbridge might be if they had a passing
If
game.
they
with-
had a more versatile type offense, you're right.
Right, and I'll tell you what, this is the first game that Dennis McKim has been in a semblance of full strength.
Right.
He had an injury. He missed the first 2 games. Was not at full strength last week. Was it against Stevens or J.P. Stevens?
J.P. Stevens.
Okay, and this is the first time we're seeing him at full strength, and he is the most impressive runner we have seen all year. I have to agree with Phil.
1st down at the East Brunswick 40. Woodbridge trails by 2 scores. Anglin looking outside to Mormon.
Ooh.
And just misses connecting.
I'll tell you, if Mormon could get his neck turned around, he would have saw that ball coming the other way, and who knows?
7:44, and if Woodbridge can put a score on, it'll change the complexion somewhat of this game.
Yes. I think we all agree that they probably were very depressed about that last score, but it shows a lot of guts to come and move the ball right down the field.
It'll be 2nd and 10 for the Barrons.
Okay, I think we can look for the junior, Joe Hill, number 81 here. I'm sure they're going to try to get something out to him. Let's see.
He's got single coverage. He's split wide left. Sophomore White is on him. Here's that little option, and McKim trips. And he'll lose 2 yards.
You wonder, he looked like he had a little bit of room there.
Back to the 42-yard line.
So it'll bring up 3rd and 12 for the Barrons.
And 11.
A lot of time being taken by Woodbridge as they're trying to get the play in.
Third and 11. On the 42 of East Brunswick.
Anglem dropping back. Throwing, looking for Mormon. It's going to be picked off by Harmon at the 22-yard line.
Right, another second interception for Mark Harmon today. Too bad he fell.
Just a terrible pattern, a down, out, and up by Mormon, I believe it was. It just wasn't run well, and the pass wasn't thrown well. And as we talked about earlier, you can expect interceptions to come when you're just not a good passing team.
And
So
I think, John, the Bears would like to get one more in.
The Bears will take over on their own 22. They have 6:40 to go in the game. They lead 28-14. Forte. Here's a sprint draw with Brunig, and he's hit right at the line of scrimmage. Bill's a little slow getting up.
He'll go off the field.
And they give Brunig a yard. I think that was out of the kindness of their hearts. Call it 2nd and 9 for the Bears. Holcomb goes wide right. Forte looking.
Holcomb. Oh.
He's looking for Giroux. Giroux picks it up. He's got it. Be knocked out inside Woodbridge territory. How he held on to that, I'm not sure.
I'll tell you, I just can't say enough about Joe Giroux and his reception ability. He, a lot of times that ball is in the air before he breaks, and he turns very quickly and somehow gets his hands on the ball.
He really does. He has a good presence of mind to catch that ball with a lot of traffic.
Quite honestly, that ball was forced in there because the Woodbridge defender was standing, had good position, and Giroux was able to pick it up off his hands. Here's Harmon, that sweep to the left side.
There's a clip.
It's a holding.
Yeah.
Mark Harmon showing some great style, but it's all going to be brought back.
That's a holding.
Yes, and Captain Don Sofoconic, I believe, is the
Clip.
guilty party. He claims he didn't do anything wrong, but it'll be brought back.
And I'll tell you, Marcus doesn't want to stifle aggressiveness, but he certainly will be talking about that when they watch films this week, because as I say, when you're facing Perth Amboy and J.P. Stevens and so forth, you cannot afford those type of penalties.
And as penalties are marked off in high school, it is marked off 15 from the point of the foul. So that was behind the line of scrimmage by 5 yards. So in effect, you have a nearly 20-yard penalty here. So the Bears are probably going to have close to a 1st and 30, John. Not that that's any problem for Forte.
1st and 25 it will be, Jim.
Okay.
5:35 to go in the game. Brunig runs into his own man after picking up 2 yards. And he's probably wondering why he's on offense and why he moved back over.
Well, I think it was Borden's plans to use Brunig in the offensive backfield. And with that injury to Billy Brunig, it sort of limited his mobility, and they kept him on defense.
Brunig picks up 2 yards. 2nd and about 23. Forte straight drop, then he rolls to his right. Design sprint, looking for Giroux. He's got him. Giroux will step out at the 35.
What can you say?
What can you say is right? Right on the money.
Giroux's 5 yards short of the first down, but it'll be 3rd and 5.
And a lot of times those passes look like they're catching Giroux. I mean, look like he's grabbing them to hold on. They're taking him, but he holds on to them.
So East Brunswick with a 3rd and 5, 4:52 to ball spotted at the Woodbridge 35-yard line. They lead 28-14. And a quick screen to Maloney out in the left side. He's got the first down at the 25, 24-yard line of Woodbridge.
And that's Kevin's first pass reception this afternoon.
You must have a strong quarterback to throw that little screen.
You're right.
Exactly.
To the wide side of the field.
And we have an official timeout, I guess, to Oh, we have an injured player on the other side of the field, John.
It's a Woodbridge Barron.
That looks like 30. Is that 34, Casola? See if we can get the field glasses on that.
I think it is Sakala.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we hope he's okay.
All right. If anything, though, it gives East Brunswick a few moments to gather their thoughts.
Jim, this gives us some time. Last year, we didn't get to answer the quiz about Woodbridge Barons on the air, so maybe I can explain it now. If you notice, the young man just walked off the field a little while ago with the top hat, but we have a sign up over here with the top hat on it. And the Woodbridge Barons are trying to capitalize on the word Baron, B-A-R-O-N. But the fact of the matter, Woodbridge Barons were named after a prestigious family in Woodbridge. Some of the fans years ago tried to, as I say, capitalize on Barons, you know, royalty, German royalty or something like that. And some people complained about it, so they put the other R back in Barons. So we got a little history lesson there.
There you go.
Woodbridge Barons.
And that'll be on the test next week.
We give you a taste of everything here at Channel 8. 4:30 to go. 1st and 10 for the Bears. Woodbridge 25. Pitch to Harmon.
He's got room.
Looking for a block. He's got it. Finding the opening. Mark Harmon picks his way inside the 5-yard line.
Hey, and I you know I'm going to say something because that was from the middle of the field,
right,
John. That was from the middle of the field. They did that pitch. It was not to the short side, and that's my point. If it does go to the wide side, Mark Harmon has the speed and is elusive enough to make something out of it.
So they mark Harmon's progress at the 6. 1st and goal for the Bears. 3:58 to go in the game. Pitch to Brunig to the short side. He's got the hole. He's going to go in for the score. Bill Brunig. And a great lead block by Dave Clark.
And Brunig took a solid hit.
You're right, John. That Clark was, he's limping a little bit, but he really gave his body, he sacrificed his body out there for Brunig.
And that is Bill Brunig's first touchdown.
No, he got it on the punt return, too.
His second touchdown, his first rushing touchdown
That's correct.
of the year.
Right.
So Potter has 2 touchdowns, and now Brunig with his second. The Bears on top 34-14.
And Forte on the quarterback keeper for 1 yard. There's your scoring.
Miller for the extra point. It's good. It's now 35-14. East Brunswick with 3:46 to go in the game.
Yeah, Troy White looks awful comfortable out there holding that ball.
And we're glad to see that, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Well, the game started out like it was going to be a tight one, and we knew East Brunswick had the ability to blow it open at any time, and that's exactly what has happened.
Exactly. 35-14 seems like East Brunswick had it all the way. But believe us, you watch the game, and you could tell that anything can happen. And I think the Bears are very, very, very fortunate, very happy to get out of Brisco Stadium with a win here this afternoon.
I think you're right, Jim. The score is not indicative of what we've seen here today, and that first half was very close. Mm-hmm. And the start of the second half, that drive was the key, and East Brunswick shut him down, got the ball back, and then Brunig's score really broke the back of Woodbridge.
If there is a game that the Bears are going to play against a acknowledged less opponent, let it be this one, because I know the team is really fired up for next Friday night's encounter with Perth Amboy, which is going to be at J. Doyle Field.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, and then, of course, the week following against Stevens.
Miller, who's getting a lot of exercise today, kicks it off. This will be McKim at the 7. Fumbles the ball, picks it up at the 10. Still on his feet, and runs head into, I don't know who the player was.
Mark Flynn, 55.
Was it Flynn?
Yeah.
You're right, Jim.
And I think Mark's getting up a little slow from that collision. Oh, yeah.
Mark was actually falling, and as he was falling down, he ran right into McKim.
And that's a collision.
Clock is running.
And you can see him on the screen. He's going to stay in. However,
he may be seeing 3 and 4 people out there.
Exactly. One Dennis McKinn is enough.
1st and 10 for the Barons on their own 30. 3:15 to go in the game. Motion, I I believe, against Woodbridge.
You just heard the voice of Mike Salento, the head coach of Perth Amboy. Said, "I'll be there," referring to his Panthers, who will attempt to make it 2 in a row over East Brunswick.
I think he wants to leave right now to work on his game plan because he has a lot to work on.
He does.
It should be a real great game.
Yeah, it really will be.
It really should.
Well, Perth Amboy, Phil, you mentioned, has the game breakers.
They have the game
Ray
breakers.
Stewart, the quarterback, and Darrell Cross. We're going to be watching him. He's just a sophomore.
Well, and history has shown any team that has caused East Brunswick problems has been the teams with the game breakers.
John, we have a penalty out there?
Penalty was against East Brunswick, so it'll move the ball to the Woodbridge 45. It'll be 1st and 10. 3 minutes left in the game. This is Mormon trying to get outside, taken down by Flynn right at the line of scrimmage.
Phil, to pick up and continue on that Perth Amboy game, as far as I can remember in covering East Brunswick over the years, the Perth Amboy Panthers have always given East Brunswick a problem, even during those years that they weren't even close to being the type of team that they are now. Now they have some talent, and with Mike Salento, we salute him as a real quality coach, and no telling what can happen next week. It should be a good, close game.
Barrons, 2nd and 10. And one of the linemen jumped, and that'll move him back 5.
That's about, I'll tell you what, we haven't noticed that. That's about the first or second play where we've had a miscue with a lineman jumping offside or an encroachment. Other than those 15-yarders, it's been a fairly well-played game.
Right.
So the clock starts again. 2:03 left in the game. East Brunswick on top, 35-14. East Brunswick will improve their record to 4-1. Woodbridge will drop to 0-3-1. McKim on the carry, and he'll pick up 5.
And, I'm going through the statistics at this point, and if Brian Forte does not have another opportunity, he will finish the afternoon with 12 for 19. A couple of drop passes, too, by the way, and 256 yards in the air. 2 touchdowns, those both going to Dave Potter in the first half. So a fine afternoon, easily Brian's best day passing this year, and probably career-wise.
3rd and 8 for Woodbridge. Anglem dropping straight back. A little screen to the left to McKim. McKim's got some running room and some blockers. Woo! And he's still on his feet.
Unbelievable.
I thought he was out of bounds, but he just kept on moving.
Unbelievable.
Finally is wrestled out of bounds at about the 18-yard line of East Brunswick.
You're right, Jimmy. You just knew he had to be hit out of bounds. He took some shots, and he's stepping on people, over people, and speeding down the sideline.
Just refused to go down.
I like him.
I'll say this, outside of Harmon and DeVito, he's the best running back we've seen this year.
Right.
He's a runner.
We're going to be seeing J.P. Stevens, Tim Bradley. He's another of those elusive Mark Harmon-type runners. But as for power running, I don't think we can find a better running back in the conference.
Not for power.
So that gives Woodbridge a 1st down. The ball is at the East Brunswick 19, 51 seconds to go. Surely Woodbridge would like this score for respectability, if nothing else. Anglem looking. He's got his man Morum outside. Mormon's inside the 5-yard line.
And White was looking for the turn-in on that, and Mormon just gave him a little head fake and moved to the outside. Got himself open.
And I tell you, East Brunswick doesn't want to give up this score. It's a pride type thing. This score will not hurt them at all, but you bet your bottom dollar they do not want to give up this score here.
Is there any way they can stop him with McKim in there, Phil?
Well,
5 yards to go.
It's 1st and goal at the 5, 45 seconds left in the game. Woodbridge looking to put on their 20th point of the game. Anglem on a quarterback sneak, scores.
Wow, we've seen more quarterback sneaks this game than we've seen all year, Jim.
Yep. So with 42 seconds left to go,
Anglem.
Woodbridge pushes it through. 5-yard run, that is. And I suspect we'll see an onside kick here by Woodbridge. Make things interesting.
It's worthwhile. I saw it last week for the first time.
And Woodbridge will call a timeout. Why so many teams have problems with extra points or 2-point plays, I really don't know.
Well, but I think right here it's a point of an opportunity for the coach to do a little bit more while he's out there, other than deal with the 2 points.
So we can set the stage, if you will, for next Friday night. We're going to be there, gentlemen, but it should be an excellent game for the fans to come out and see at J. Doyle Field. I think it's a 7:30 p.m. start. Perth Amboy with only one loss in the conference, that being last night, 21-19 to front-running J.P. Stevens. And we should also add that East Brunswick is tied for Stevens for first place in the GMC Red Division. But just as important for the Bears, they're going to need that win over Perth Amboy to keep in the running for a state playoff berth.
And you mentioned that even when Perth Amboy had poor years, somehow they seem to have East Brunswick's number. It's just like that with some teams. They just feel that other teams, other towns, they can beat no matter how they're playing. So it's going to be a real challenge for East Brunswick.
All right, Woodbridge will go for the 2. Anglem. He's pressured, and he's not going to make it. Taken down, and so the score will remain 35-20 East Brunswick.
Phil, you talk about teams that have other teams' numbers. I'll give you another good example of that. The team you're looking at right here on the field, Woodbridge, seems to always play well and upset J.P. Stevens of all teams.
That's interesting.
It really is. I don't know what exactly the one loss, but I would tell you that Woodbridge has beaten J.P. Stevens in the last 10 years more times than J.P. Stevens has beaten Woodbridge.
Is that right?
That's the truth.
Wow. Okay, Ron Perez on that last tackle, and East Brunswick really just going to run out the clock unless they
ought to.
unless they just take a kickoff return. It'll be interesting how they run out the clock.
Well, let's watch for the onside, John.
Well, Marcus Borden's looking for it. He's got DeVito up on the front line, Matt Miller, Brunig, Maloney. Unlike last week where they got caught off guard on the offsides. They're looking for it this time. 42 seconds to go. Jowett, as you see Woodbridge slide to the left for the onside kick. And it's going to be fallen upon by, I didn't get the number, we'll see. Number 85, Dave Potter.
Potter's everywhere today.
All righty.
So the Bears will take over. 1st and 10, 39 seconds. Ball at the East Brunswick 43.
And I think we have a new quarterback in the game
and
for East Brunswick. It's number 1. We have to get his number. That's Ken Mayer.
And it's a good point. As I was walking out of the game last week.
Check that, Phil. It's Maloney that's in at quarterback.
Mayer's out at wide receiver.
Right, wide receiver.
Perez and Goldstein now in the backfield for East Brunswick.
And we're glad that Brian Forte is not on the field.
And that was the point I was about to make. People were saying, why is he even in the game at that point in time, you know?
Clock running down to 33 seconds. Goldstein right up the middle. And a fine run. 1st down and more to the Woodbridge 40.
And that's close to being the best offensive run for East Brunswick this afternoon. We'll give it to Harn. Give him 19 yards on that last jaunt down there towards the end zone. But
Goldstein showing good form. Nice run.
Last 10 seconds of the game.
I was going to say, this ought to be the last game.
Here's Donahue, I believe.
Ooh.
Donahue wrestled down after a yard gain. And that will do it here from Brisco Stadium, where East Brunswick comes away with a 35-20 victory over the Woodbridge Barrons.
Well, they finally figured out, rather than using some of the starters there to try to run out that clock and cause all sorts of things to happen, let's give some of the younger players an opportunity to play.
Right. And
it worked out well.
Trying to quickly add up the statistics, we already mentioned that Forte finished the afternoon with 12 for 19 for 256 yards, the 2 touchdowns. Quite an accomplished afternoon for the junior quarterback, and does nothing to diminish his status as one of the top passing quarterbacks in the state of New Jersey this year. Harmon was the top ground gainer, but he only carried the ball for 5 times this afternoon, and we're only going to give him 34 yards. DeVito had 4 carries for 5 yards. Goldstein gets 15 on that last carry, and Brunig 13 yards this afternoon on 4 carries, and that's about the extent of the East Brunswick rushing off. But we thought from the beginning of the contest, John and Phil, that East Brunswick would try to throw the ball despite the fact that Trent was not available. I talked to Ramon at the half, and he said he wanted to play, but they were going to save him, but he should be available for Perth Amboy.
All right, so you see the teams out on the field. East Brunswick huddling up as they normally do after a game so that Coach Marcus Borden can address the team. East Brunswick started off slow but put it all together and really dominated this Woodbridge team. And so East Brunswick improves their record to 4-1 and more importantly remain undefeated within their conference. And next week, as we've been talking about, they meet a tough and determined Perth Amboy team. And we'll be there Friday evening at J. Doyle Field. So we hope we see you there. The final again from Brisco Stadium, East Brunswick 35, Woodbridge 20. So for Phil Hill and Jim Allinder, I'm John Meggiolaro saying thanks for being with us.